Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. And yes, you see it here today. I'm starting my solo playthrough of Battlestar Galactica, the board game. You might wonder, what? Playing Battlestar Galactica solo? How is that even possible? And yes, there are some actual solo and cooperative rules. Official ones, as far as I know. I have never played this game solo or solely cooperative before. Played the normal version of the game, the traitor one, I don't know, countless times, and I featured this game on one of my recent top 10 lists of all time. This is really one of my most favorite games of all time, and it still is, and I still enjoy it so much. And even during lockdown we were able to play it online and whatnot. Really a great success for me. As I don't have the English version of the game, I pretty much asked that question during my top 10 video, if someone would be willing to borrow me an English copy of the game. Yes, I could have played my German version of the game, but then I really had to translate a lot of stuff, and there are really a lot of cards and whatnot. And for you, I thought it would be better if I would feature this on my channel. Then I would rather prefer an English copy of the game. And in fact, a lot of people actually offered me their help, and really appreciate that. Unfortunately, most of those were very far away over the pond, so shipping costs back and forth would be relatively expensive. But luckily, someone in Germany, Cure on Board Game Geek, he reached out to me and said, yeah, you can have my copy. I'm currently not using it, take your time. And yeah, here I am. So really do appreciate your help on this one here. And he also sent me a nice set of Arkham Horror dice because he watched my recent Eldritch Horror playthrough. I think I mentioned those dice, and he was really extremely kind to send me a copy, basically a set of those dice. Really cool stuff. So yes, now I'm basically obliged to do another run of Eldritch Horror, Arkham Horror 2nd or 3rd edition or whatnot. So let's see about that. That was a very long introduction, at least for my usual introductions, which are typically very quick. Anyway, let's do another quick shout out to all of my patrons out there. Some of them actually also were offering to help me here and sending me the copy here. But again, appreciate your help, but I think financially that made most sense. And yeah, again, still huge shout out to all of my patrons. And I guess now we are basically good to go. I already prepared the game board, and one thing I should mention, I'm partially using some components from the Pegasus and I believe the Daybreak expansion. I think those Battlestars, the miniatures, are from the Pegasus, and I'm also using the Cylon counters. I think these are from Daybreak. Hopefully we will not see those. But who knows? Apart from that, everything is pretty much vanilla base game of Battlestar Galactica. As far as I know, this solo mode has been designed for the base game and was published about that time. I don't know when exactly. So maybe it does work with the expansion, maybe it doesn't, but I think let's focus on the easy thing here. Again, that's pretty much the standard setup for the base game. I decided to play as Kara Starbuck Race here. Definitely, I think, my most favorite character from the show anyway. And I think there are some limitations. I think you cannot play as Laura Roslin as a starting player, also not as Boomer. I think maybe those special abilities are somewhat broken, and at least I think. But this also means that the solo player has both titles here, the Admiral and the President. If you don't know the game at all, let's not get too involved into these kind of things. I will definitely explain you the mechanics, and maybe every now and then I might reference or provide a reference to the normal traitor game. But for now, she's basically the Admiral and the President. But the way I like to think about this thematically, it's something like, okay, we have the Admiral in our side, for example. The same is true for the President. So it's not really her who is now President and Admiral, because yeah, it doesn't really feel right for Starbuck if you know her role in the series or in the show. But again, I like to think of that, okay, we have the Admiral and the President in our back pocket. With the Admiral, you typically get 2 nuke tokens. In the solo game, you only get 1 of those, so definitely use them wisely. And you are not playing the game just as the active player. You also get at your side an assist character, or a so-called assist character. And in this case, I think it's fine to go with Laura Roslin. And the 2 or 3 things that the assist character is doing for you. First of all, they have the loyalty deck next to them. The loyalty is bigger than what the cards that you see here. I think we have 7 cards now in the full loyalty deck, and we are dealing at random 3 cards to Laura Roslin, or to the assist character in this case. And there is only one You Are a Cylon card in these decks. So it could be that the first card is already that she will reveal as a Cylon. That would be bad. I have no clue. I have not staged this deck in any way, so I will be as surprised as you are. Later on, when we come to the sleeper phase, we are adding some more cards, so I think things might get more not easier. I mean, it could go both ways actually. We are simply adding some more cards in the so-called sleeper phase. But apart from that, you can also use this once per game ability, and you can also use it once per game, the skilled politician here in this case. And this is where you have to, I think, really game the game a little bit. So first of all, I really said, okay, let's go with Gaius Balta, but his passive ability doesn't help you, or his once per game ability doesn't really help you in the solo mode. So I decided, okay, let's go with someone who is useful. Then for a brief moment, I thought about getting another pilot, but that would feel lame. So in the end, that's why I went with Laura Roslin here. And the last thing that you can use from your assist characters are those skill cards here. So typically you're only allowed to draw cards from your skill cards for Starbuck, that's tactics and pilotings, and then she can choose between leadership and engineering, so green or blue. But that's also one of the reasons why I went for a political leader in this case here. She also allows me to draw 1 yellow card. You're still only drawing 5 cards doing your draw skill card step, but one of those cards can be a color from your assist character, which is okay. So even say I want to draw 2 green cards, which I would normally not be allowed as Starbucks, Laura Roslin in theory would allow me to do so. Because yeah, I could get 1 green card for Starbuck, and then I could draw 1 green card from Laura Roslin here. But that's pretty much it in respect to the assist character. When she is revealed Cylon, we are doing what we are being told on this You Are a Cylon card. Typically nasty things will happen, but then this character is out of the game for good and nothing else will happen. But I guess that's not a super crisis card, but these Cylon abilities sometimes can be really, really frustrating. I think one of those even has playing a super crisis card, if I can recall that correctly, or maybe that was part of the expansion. And that's also one of the things I should mention. I don't play this game with a standard or with a base game. I think even the very first time I played this game, it was already with a lot of expansion in there. So when we are playing this with our groups, we are picking, doing some cherry picking in respect to some of the components we are using from all of the expansions. But in most of the cases, we are really adding a ton of stuff. So we have the Pegasus sideboard, we have the Cylon fleet board, which definitely makes sense. And a lot of all of the other things, like those traitor cards, for example, treachery card. I think treachery cards is the proper term. These are also not here yet. Of course, way more characters. We don't have any assault raptors, for example. We don't have these Mark 7, Mark 10 Vipers, for example. So adding a lot of stuff in this game, but that's really now here the base game, just to figure things out. Depending on how things go, I really might want to consider doing at least 2 playthroughs of this. So I want to go with a pilot here, and maybe with my next run picking maybe a political leader, maybe a support character or so. It's really up to me a little bit how I want to do that, but I'm pretty sure if I go that again, I would rather go for a political or maybe military leader like Adama, for example. But let's see about that. I think the only thing that's left to do for preparations, this is something I will do off camera. I have to do the Destiny deck. I think it's Destiny deck, right? 2 cards from each of those: politics, leadership, tactics, piloting and engineering. I will do that in a second off camera. But what are we trying to achieve? Again, if you don't know the show, then might be a little bit difficult now to catch up thematically. But ultimately, we are trying to reach Kobol, and we can jump several times, and whenever we jump, we are drawing one of those destination cards here, and those destination cards typically have ranges on them between 1 and 3, I believe. And are there zeros? No, I don't think so. I could be wrong now. With this base deck here, I have no clue. And yeah, we are then drawing those cards. They have a range, and whenever we are reaching 8 or more, then we have to do 1 more jump. And when we then make this jump and still have resources above 0, which is, by the way, tracked up here, then we have won the game. If during the game or during the end of a player's turn, I think that's really important, not immediately, but at the end of a player's turn, if one of those resources is going down to 0, then we have lost the game immediately. And that's typically what happens. As I don't know how this game plays solo or cooperatively, in the cooperative version of the game, there are still some more tweaks you have to do. I think you are reducing some of those starting resources even. I think you're removing some of the politics cards and whatnot. But apart from that, I really have no clue how difficult or easy the experience is. If you are playing Battlestar Galactica and you have, let's say, a somewhat newbie kind of silent player, or sometimes it happens that only one player gets all the loyalty cards with a silent and then distributing those, this can be really then feel like a cakewalk. So let's say typically experienced players playing against a not so experienced silent player should be able to relatively easy win this. But again, I'm playing alone now here. And I have no clue, so I'm now really saying a lot of strong words because I have played this game quite some times actually, so I think the expectation is now relatively high that I should be able to beat it. But now we will have a silent. I have no clue when the silent will appear, what of those crisis cards will show up, and because I am alone with also a somewhat limited amount of cards and also maybe the wrong kind of cards, things could get relatively tricky in this playthrough, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I think let me now prepare the Destiny deck, and then I think we should go into the action. Okay, I have prepared the Destiny deck accordingly. Let's look at the situation right now, and that's how we start the game. We have one base star here at the front. I think it's the bow, right, of the Galactica, and we have 3 raiders here. We also start the game with 2 of our Vipers out. Right now we are not in any combat situation, and at the stern of the Galactica we have 2 civilian ships out there, and this is the primary target for those raiders. So if a raider is in a space with one of those civil ships and there aren't any Vipers, they immediately destroy one of those ships, and then you're losing typically a lot of population. Sometimes it might be fuel, not even sure if it's morale. Again, I don't really know that by heart right now, but usually you're losing a lot of population this way. We start the game with 12 population, and again, if we are going down to 0 and that's still the same at the end of our turn, then we have immediately lost the game. There are some effects which might gain you stuff back. Population, I don't think that's the case, but fuel, food, that's some of the resources which you might get back with some of the crisis cards, but I believe when population is gone, they're gone, unfortunately. But okay, that's the tactical situation around the Galactica. Bad guys here, good guys here, also some good guys here. We are a pilot, and we are also starting here at the hangar deck. So typically it might not be a bad idea to launch ourselves into a Viper, and we could go for this one here, for example, or for this space here, and try to go after one of those raiders out there. Right now they are still relatively far from us, so in order to attack those guys, those raiders would need to get activated 1, 2, 3, 4 more times. But throughout the game, rest assured, we will bring out more civilian ships, more base stars, maybe even at least one more, and more raiders. And there are also heavy raiders out there, and heavy raiders are really bad because whenever we are activating heavy raiders, that's the time when we are revealing our loyalty cards. Cool, huh? So what would we do now? I mean, right now we are not at risk, but there is not really a lot other things that we can do right now with her. Of course, we could go to the weapons control, which is a rather safe bet for maybe non-pilot character. Attack one silent ship with the Galactica. Then we are rolling that, but we don't really need to move that many spaces. So staying on board the Enterprise, on board the Galactica right now might not be our worst choice. On the other hand, we are the pilot, and Kara's special ability allows her to take 2 actions instead of only 1 if she starts her turn in a Viper. So I think bringing her out might be a good idea. Additionally, we are also starting the game with one of those politics cards, because again, we are also the president. And the card that I have drawn for Kara here for Starbuck was okay-ish. I mean, assign vice president, draw 2 politics cards, or those are skill cards, and give this card to any other player. So this card here, this is one of the things, edge cases, where I think we would keep it because there is no other player here. Maybe that would be a card you would have to sort out at the start of the game. But again, the rules or the solo rules do not really tell us to do those. They're very specific for the co-op version of the game to take out some cards. But here, maybe we will simply keep it. So again, we are definitely drawing 2 piloting cards. That much is clear. And I think we are not allowed to peek under those cards before we have seen them all. At least that's how I remember. Leadership or engineering. Let's get for one engineering card because, yeah, but do I need to repair? Typically engineering cards come. No, let's go with a leadership card, even though there are some of those executive orders in here, which again in a solo game wouldn't do us any good. But anyway, let's go for one. So we have 1 red, we have 1 green. So in this case, it's either green or blue. We went for green. And now we could go for 2 tactics cards, and I will definitely go for 1. But because our assist character Laura Roslin would allow us to draw a yellow card, I think let's do that. So I really want to have some choices in my hand. So yeah, let's have a look at those cards now. And yeah, here we are. We have drawn an executive order, which is a great card in a multiplayer game. But in this case, it doesn't help because it allows us to pretty much give our command to someone else or our action to someone else. And if there is someone who has more useful stuff to do than what we would have to do, then that's the perfect card. It's a great card for the silent player too. If they've given us executive orders, the first thing that you're doing is revealing yourself, very often at least. Then we have 2 evasive maneuvers. That's perfect. Play after any Viper is attacked to re-roll the die. If the Viper is piloted, okay, we can even, that's great. So maybe that already gives us some ideas. We have the strategic planning. This is great because before any die roll to add 2 to the result is really great if we are going for jump preparation, for example. And we have the consolidate power, draw 2 skill of any type. Yeah, that's definitely not a bad hand. The only lame one is maybe the executive order, but I rather drawn this for the color rather than the action. I mean, I was pretty much counting on some executive orders sooner or later. Does this now necessarily help me? I could go really for a prep turn now. We could play this card, draw 2 skill cards of any types, and they may come from outside of your skill set. This really gives me a lot of flexibility for our first crisis card that will come up. On the other hand, I mean, we are a pilot after all, and I chose a pilot for a reason. No. We are launching a Viper, which means because Starbuck is already in the hangar deck, we are more or less forfeiting our movement step, which is perfectly okay. And then we are moving into our action step. And this says launch yourself in a Viper. Then you may then take 1 more action. So yeah, let's totally do that. So we are removing her from the board. She goes to her character board. We have this nice little token next, and we are placing this token underneath one of the Vipers that are in our reserve. Right now we still have 6 more out. Okay, 1 is now taken. So she's now moving around because we have used the hangar deck, and of course the hangar deck action can only be used by a pilot character, so not by president or so, or by support character, for example, or political leader. We really need a pilot for that, but she still gets 1 more action. And I think we are using this to move Starbuck into here. And that's also a very special thing for the base game. In one of the later expansions, and I think it's Exodus, but I could be completely wrong. Maybe that has been introduced with Pegasus. You can also use a pilot action or a Viper action to escort one of the civilian ships out, which reduces damage. In the base game, that's, I believe, not possible with your standard action. So you can either launch, you can move, or you can attack another ship. That's pretty much all you can do with the Viper. Again, in one of the later expansions, you are also able to escort out one of those civilian ships up here. I really had to read that up right now because I did remember there were some changes done, but I don't know when those have been introduced actually. But okay, this was pretty much our movement and action step. So again, this game is typically from the action perspective very easy and straightforward. And after that, we are now going into our first crisis step. So we are drawing one card from it, and I really gave this deck a huge shovel, and it's really a huge deck. Even the base game already comes with a ton of those cards here. So yeah, let's see what we get. And here we have a potential skill check already. And that's not a bad skill check. The problem is it's difficulty of 15, and we don't have 15 points in our hand for sure. So even trying that might be already a waste of cards actually. Of course, in this case, we can go for this doing the test, or we can immediately go to this. And in this case, we might want to consider just to roll a die. But what is this all about? Frankly, it's more efficient for me to gather my own initial samples. Gaius Balta. Okay, we want to send a survey team out there, but again, with our cards, we have 9, 10 points in our hand. Maybe if we are extremely lucky and getting good cards from the Destiny deck, we might be able to date, but best we can do is going with a pass effect here. On the other hand, we could immediately say we are going for that, not playing any cards, which is still allowed. Then we would fail that test, and then the current player is sent to sickbay. And out of sickbay, and we would destroy a raptor. On the other hand, we could immediately say, no, we are not going for that test. We will simply roll a die. And if we are rolling 5 or less, we would lose 1 fuel. But actually, we have the strategic planning in our hands. So I think this would be the perfect time to use it. So we are not going for the skill check. We are going for the ore effect here, which means we have to roll an 8-sided die here. But before we do that, we will play our strategic planning here. Play before any die roll to add 2 to the result. Limit 1 of strategic planning card used per die roll. This makes sense. So this card gets discarded accordingly, and then yeah, we are rolling that die. Again, the die is now a +2, but you guys, you know how good or bad I'm rolling. Can you see it? Yes, you can. And bam, it's a 6 +2. Keep that in mind because of our strategic planning. So if a 5 or less, -1 fuel. Without that card, yes, we would have lost our first fuel. In this case, awesome. Great job. We didn't lose anything. Okay, let's not go too crazy. First of all, we now have to activate the Cylon Raiders, which means they are all trying to attack us. And there is this priority table which you can follow through. Is there a Viper, then go that. If there is a ship, a civilian ship in the space, do that. If there is a ship nearby, then they will move. And then last resort would be to attack or try to attack the Galactica, which is also one of the lose conditions, by the way. If there are 6 of those locations damaged, then we have also automatically lost the game. But okay, let's start with this Raider, and this is our attack table here. So we are pretty much damaged on a roll of 5 to 7. On a roll of an 8, we would be destroyed. We are not dying, but if something terrible happens to our Viper, we are still sent to sickbay. But again, the idea was to move in there, so to prevent those Raiders moving after our civilian ships up here. And we still have our evasive maneuvers in our hands. So I think overall something we can definitely consider doing. So yeah, let's roll some dice. And the dice can be terrible in this game. That's, I think, maybe the only frustrating part on this game is you're preparing a lot of stuff, you are setting everything up, and then you are still dependent on a die roll. Yes, for some it feels, oh wow, that's so thrilling, but this is where I understand that in a meta game like this, where a lot of table talk, or the whole game or the normal game consists of these discussions around the table. Who might be a Cylon? Who is on your side? Which agenda are they going for? And then that's all fine. But then every so often you have to roll a die, and then yeah, things can go terribly wrong. But okay, this will be the first attack. Again, on a 5 to 7, we are damaged. That's a 6. That's definitely not a good start. So we are playing the evasive maneuvers. And this play, after any Viper is attacked, to reroll the die. And if the Viper is piloted, piloted, we are subtracting 2 from that new roll. So let's do that. So this card is gone. Okay, that's a 1. Perfect. The first raider has attacked. Then the second one is moving in. And that's a 2. Perfect. And the last is moving in, and that's a 7. Okay, we still have another set of evasive maneuver. We are going to play that now. Again, that's a -2 on that roll. Perfect, that's a 1. Awesome. I mean, that's a perfect result actually. So she can now in her next action try to get rid of 2 of those raiders, which would be insane. Last thing to do on this crisis card is to check if there is jump icon. There is, which allows us to move the jump preparation track 1 step ahead. If we are reaching one of those 2 spaces, we could go to the FTL control and risk a jump, pretty much deliberately jumping. If we are moving from this space to this space, we will do a successful auto jump. Here we could lose some population, 3 or 1, if we are not rolling good enough, and I think it's a 6 if I recall that correctly. But if we are really moving to the auto jump, then nothing can happen. But of course it will take you longer. At the start of the game, or depending a little bit on the situation, you might really rather want to wait. The later you get, the more riskier you have to be, typically. But that was pretty much the very first round of Battlestar Galactica. I think let's do at least one more round in this video, because I was really talking through a lot of stuff and not showing a lot of action. So let's at least reward you a little bit with some more action. Again, we are the active player, so we are going to draw some cards. Again, I want to hold on to piloting skill cards for sure, so we are drawing 2 of those. We still have a yellow card in our hand, but we will definitely go for another. Let's take 2 purple cards now. And now, just to have it, we are also going with one of those engineering cards. So let's quickly see what we have. That's a card we have drawn. We have 2 launch scouts, which would allow us to risk a raptor to roll a die. 3 or higher, we can look at the top of the crisis or destination deck. Oh, that's really, really great card. Maybe that's something I want to do rather sooner than later. We still got an evasive maneuver, and I think in the base game there is not a lot of variety. I think it's either evasive maneuver or maximum firepower, more or less. I don't know, but what does the maximum firepower play while piloting a Viper to attack up to 4 times? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty insane actually. But anyway, this was our draw skill card step. Next, we could move, basically we could use our normal movement step to also move our Viper around, but I think in this case, again, we are in the perfect position right now. So as our action, and keep in mind we are getting 2 actions now, because we have, we started our turn in a Viper. So we are going with the maximum firepower. And isn't the maximum firepower not even, I think in one of the expansions there is maybe a more powerful version of that card, or when you play it with combination of a +2 roll or so. I cannot remember right now, but again, that's me, and I really should stop talking about the expansion. We are playing with the base game here, so we're using all the base game stuff here. Play while piloting a Viper to attack up to 4 times. Isn't that nice? So we are totally doing that. So we are going for one of those, not raptors, for those raiders. And again, we are looking at our little attack table here, and those raiders are destroyed on a roll of 3 to 8. There is no damage whatsoever. They are destroyed, but the problem is they will always come back. Damaged Viper will be sent to the damaged Viper section, so we can repair those. It's a good thing. But if it's destroyed, or if the Viper is destroyed, it's out of the game for good. Very thematic in this case. Okay, let's start attacking. So first raider here, 3 to 8. Perfect, that's a 6. Can you see that? Yes, you can. First raider is out. Nice job. Second raider. Bam, that's a 3. Still good enough. Second raider out. Another great job. Starbuck. And third attack, that's a 4. Also enough. Perfect. We still have one more attack, and I think we can actually try to go after that base star here. The problem is the base stars are only damaged with a Viper with a roll of 8. So let's see about that. I mean, how difficult can this be? That's the one, that's the exact opposite, but nothing else will happen. Okay, this was our maximum firepower. Definitely a useful card. We still have one more action left. I mean, if we want, we can now We could still try to damage that base star here. On the other hand, we could also say we are moving back to the Galactica rather, just to prepare ourselves, because right now, yeah, really going after base stars with the Viper, typically not a good idea. But yeah, I think seems like a waste of an action. I mean, we could really now move either to Colonial 1 or... Oh wait, we still have that assigned vice president card here, right? I mean, we are now out here. Draw 2 politics card and give this card to any other player. I mean, it's a standard action and we still have one more action, and we don't have to do that on a certain space of the Galactica or Colonial 1. Oof, that's now tempting actually. So maybe, if anything should happen to you, Madam President, we have no designated successor. The civilian branch of our government would be paralyzed. Tom Sarek. That's not Tom Sarek, obviously. Draw 2 politics card and give this card to any other player. Don't know what crisis cards come up. There's a hand limit of 10, by the way. We're at 6 cards right now, though that shouldn't be a problem. On the other hand, we might want to consider going for the weapons control next. Attack 1 silent ship with the Galactica. But getting 2 more cards now sounds intriguing. No, we will keep it simple. We will assign the vice president from our Viper. No, again, thematically, I like to think about that. The president is doing some stuff in the background. We are piloting our ship. It's our friend. So we are simply drawing 1, 2 cards. Again, I still think we cannot give the president's card. Oh no, this would feel rather broken when I read this again now. Give this card to any other player, because if we keep it, for whatever reason I thought giving over the president title to another player, but that's not what it says. Discard to any other player. This card is in play. While this player is not president, other players may not be chosen with the administration location. Yeah, that's now really one of those edge cases with the solo mode. Okay, no, we are going to assign this card now to Laura Roslin. She's our assist player. In this case, we will not be able to use that same card again. Otherwise, it really would feel very broken. But yeah, let's see what politics card we have drawn. And that's also rather boring. It's 2 times the consolidate power. And again, I have really shuffled the hell out of these cards. But again, there's also not a lot of different skill cards in the deck here anyway. At least, again, with the base game, these decks are relatively static. But that's also good. I mean, you know what you can expect for those. I mean, if you're already starting a game with 20 different types of cards in each deck, things could get relatively nasty. If you know there are only 3, 4, 5 different cards, it helps you when you get in touch with this game for the first time. But this was our action phase. We are resolving our crisis. And here we have the terrorist investigations. I have appointed an independent tribunal to investigate the circumstances surrounding the explosion. Laura Roslin, our assist character. This is now really a skill test, and so there's no way around that. The problem is it has a difficulty of 12. We can only use yellow and green cards. Of course, we could also play other cards, but these cards would count against us. And again, we are always adding 2 cards from the Destiny deck, and we don't know what's coming there. The good thing about this one is we have also a partial victory. This is something which we might want to consider going for. The pass effect is very great because we can look at 1 random loyalty card from another player, and I think this in this case includes our assist character. Yeah, we are looking at 3 cards, and if we don't draw You're Not a Cylon, then we don't know what this actually means. So because there are 2 other cards, then I think afterwards we have to reshuffle those anyway. So in this case, this partial success might be our goal, because again, no effect. That's pretty great actually. So yeah, we will definitely try that. But this means we are adding 2 cards from the Destiny deck, and of course this is currently hidden. We don't know what we have drawn, and then we have to decide what cards we want to play. So I'm definitely going for one, and that's really I think the main meat of the, let's say, normal game with a traitor. The player left to you would start. They are playing face down cards into that skill check normally. And of course they could play cards against you because they're the silent, and in this case they would play a blue card into that check, which would count against that. So let's say there's this would be a blue card, then this would be a -2 on this test already. Of course, later on you shuffle this deck then together, all cards that have been played, and then you make some assumptions based on that. If you see one card that's in there incorrectly or with the wrong color, it could be the destiny card. But if there are 3 cards in there that are against the check, then you know one of the players really had played a card against that, and you definitely see who has played card. You also know what cards each player gets. So let's say Laura Roslin has played a card. All the players know, in theory, Laura Roslin could only have played green and yellow cards into the check unless she was using consolidate power before. But these are really then some of those little bits and pieces which makes this game so amazing actually. But let's get back to our skill check. I guess we are going to play, I think we are definitely playing the executive order for sure, because we cannot really use it. Choose any other player, there is no any other player. So that's 3 points in total. So maybe we really should play, I think we have to play all our cards now to make this work, right? So okay, that's then in total 5 points that are coming from our side. So we are basically hoping for that skill check. Maybe that was already a bad idea going for that, but losing morale that soon, I don't feel like it. And there's at least a chance, and I want to show that to you, because right now I cannot really use, yes, getting some extra cards is nice, but we should be able to get some of those back actually. Okay, so we have played our cards. We will stop here. There is no point playing any other cards. We don't have any more green or yellow cards out there. So normally you would now take all those cards face down together, shuffle those, and again, this skill check is face down for the most part. So in this case, we are simply revealing the 2, and bam, these cards are straight against us. So we have basically -7 now here, because they're not part of this skill check here, +5. So we are at -2. Yes, bam. Okay. We have definitely lost that skill check here, which means we are now losing our first resource, and that's morale. Nicely done. But of course we are still not done yet, as we have to deal with the heavy raiders. So normally the heavy raiders would now activate. Currently there aren't any heavy raiders on the board. We have to launch one from the base star here accordingly, and these guys will not attack us directly. They are always trying to move into the Galactica, and then they are making it to the boarding party, and this is another way we could then lose the game. So really getting rid of those early on might be relatively crucial, but also because it's a heavy raider, as per the solo rules, we have to pretty much reveal our very first loyalty card. No, so fingers crossed, and you are not a silent. Okay, wow. Our tests indicate that you are not a silent, although you can never know for sure. Amazing. So this card is out of the game, so we still have Laura Roslin with us. Cool. But of course, 2 of those could be a silent card, but we still have the rest of our loyalty deck here, so again, you never know. But that was our first heavy raider. We have a jump icon on this card, which means we are moving the jump preparation track 1 step ahead. We are still not allowed to jump, but the next time we would see a jump icon, and all of those have those, we might be able to do that, but this could cost us 3 population, and that's typically pretty nasty. If we have this strategic planning, then that's something you could really consider doing actually. So that's then really a risk you might be able to take, but right now I don't feel like it. Okay, that was our second round, and as the strategic situation has changed, we want to consider another turn, maybe trying to take out that heavy raider here. What do you think? Yeah, let's totally do that. So again, we are drawing our card. We will go for, yeah, let's go for 2 more red cards. Let's go for 1 tactic card. Let's go for, we have 2 red, we have 1 purple. Let's go for 2 purple actually. And I think down here we are still going for another politics card, because again, this would allow us to maybe draw some more cards later on. That's something I should have done maybe. But okay, let's look at those cards. And wow, that's the only 5, I believe, that's in this game. Investigative Committee. Play before cards are added to a skill check. So this is the card which would allow us to play this complete skill check openly. So also with the Destiny cards revealed. Apart from that, we have drawn some more evasive maneuvers. We got one strategic planning and another repair card. Did I do that right? So we got this repair card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, no, I think that's correct. Oh, I have drawn a blue card instead. Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's okay. That's fine. Still, the amount of cards was correct. I think I have drawn... I think I didn't want to go for a blue card. I wanted 2 purple cards, actually. But okay, it is what it is. I will not take it back now. So that's not a bad card. I mean, this 5 here, that's pretty strong. If we're getting into a difficult test, but we also know we have removed 2 non-yellow cards from the Destiny deck. This information also helps. But that's something I only know. In a multiplayer game, you don't know what has been played from the Destiny deck. That's really some, let's say, tactical advantage you get from the solo game. Okay, back to Kara Thrace, and yeah, she wants to go after this heavy raider, right? Again, we will forfeit our movement step. We get 2 actions because we started our turn in a Viper. And checking the attack table here, we would destroy, oh wow, on a 7 or 8. Are you kidding me? It's almost as bad as hitting a base star, I think, but we have to try. If these guys are landing, it's usually not a good thing. So yeah, with our first action, we are going to attack that heavy raider here. Again, it's a 7 or 8. Wow, she is amazing. Yeah, she's definitely the best pilot out there. Wow, this heavy raider is no more. Wow, that was amazing. Which means we still have 1 more action. Again, we could consider going after this base star here. But no, I am really tempted to go for this once per game ability. Because again, that's something we could lose. I mean, if this next card is a Cylon card, then we are losing this ability here. And once per game, draw 4 quorum cards. Choose 1 to resolve and place the rest on the bottom of the deck. And you do not need to be the president to use this ability. I mean, we are the president, obviously. But right now, the situation isn't bad. So there are great cards out there which would allow you to boost the morale, for example, or whatever, getting stuff. And I think maybe... But I still feel like if we are not using it early enough, we might lose this special ability here. And that could be devastating. Or not really devastating, but yeah, would feel bad. I really want to do that. And just to show these other quorum cards here, they're not politics cards, they're really quorum cards, sorry for that. I think we want to do that. There's not a lot else we might be able to do right now with Kara out there, because new Silence could show up any minute now. Let's do that. So we are drawing 1, 2, 3, 4 of those cards, and then we are resolving 1 of those, right? Yep. And here we are, the inspirational speech that's perfect. Roll a die, 6 or higher, we gain 1 morale. And then we could keep this card. And otherwise, no effect, and discard this card. Discard versus remove, okay. The mission specialist, also pretty much the same thing like the assign VP, would allow us to draw 2 politics card. And again, if Laura Roslin dies, we are basically out of those politics cards. We will not be able to get them back. But we are already at 9 cards already. So if we are not playing any cards this round, no, I think we already lost 1 morale. So we will go for the inspirational speech. So those cards go to the bottom of the quorum deck. And again, we are rolling a die. But yeah, we are really hoping for a 6 or higher, right? Okay. That's a 3. For a split second, yeah, there was the 6. I saw the 6 for a split second, but no, it turned into 3. Bad die. Okay, this card is simply discarded now. Yeah, if it's higher. So it could come back one way or the other, but let's not count on it. So that was pretty much our second action. So yeah, we are drawing our next crisis card. And that's a brutal one. Rescue the fleet. The Silence are waiting for us back there. How long will that take to calculate once we get back there? So tight. 12 hours, Felix Gater. Admiral chooses. Again, we are the Admiral. Or again, we control the Admiral. -2 population. That's brutal. Or place 1 base star and 3 raiders in front of Galactica and 3 civilian ships behind it. Again, that's really brutal. But because we have we have not regained the morale. I was hoping to get the morale back. But -2 population now. That's incredibly brutal. We see a jump symbol also, which means, but now, yeah, they will attack. They will attack. That's not the end of the world. No, I think that's actually okay. No, we will not lose 2 population. 1 population I may have bought in, but again, we are jumping relatively soon at least, so then all those ships will go away. So I guess no, we will go with the rescue the fleet, and we will go with the or option, which means we are adding 1 more base star. That's also not great. We are adding 3 raiders. Yeah, 3 raiders in front, so they are back. And yeah, the 3 civilian ships behind, those are kind of problematic. But right now, all those Cylon ships are relatively far away. But we have now 5 civilian ships. So if now a Cylon Raider goes crazy here, we might lose the game right away. No, it's not that bad. But then, yeah, things would look rather grim. Okay, this was the event card. At least for the event, we are now activating those raiders, and again, they will go after Kara here. And I keep forgetting, on a 5 to 7 she's damaged. Okay, first raider, 5 to 7. That's unfortunately good enough, right? So we have to play the evasive maneuver again. We are re-rolling that, -2. Yep, that was good enough. Cool. This was the first. Second one, 4, perfect, nothing happened. Third one, oops, this doesn't count, and it's a 3, perfect. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. She is doing great, and if we are now lucky and getting one of those maximum firepower, we could do the same thing again, actually. So cool. But we will also get a jump icon, which means with our next action, in theory, we could now jump. But again, the risk losing 3 population here is rather high, obviously, because if we're jumping too soon, then we are losing those civilian ships. And if you have watched the show, that's really a constant threat, that the Galactica is faster than all those civilian ships jumping somewhere. They don't do their calculations correctly and whatnot. So that really plays very, very thematically in this game here. But that's the end of the round, and I think at this point in time I will rather stop for today. We still have 2 lazy Vipers here, but of course we can still use those Vipers later on, though there is the command action which allows you to activate up to 2 unmanned Vipers accordingly. So we can still maybe move one of those in, but then someone has to go there, and right now she's still the better deal, because with her evasive maneuvers and the maximum firepower which she might get, she's definitely taking control of those Cylon ships here. Nicely done, Kara. Yeah, let me know what you think. I really enjoy it, I must say. Of course, it's a somewhat different game because there is not too much paranoia now. Who is it? But even just flipping this card here felt already pretty intriguing. But yeah, let's see how things go. And now playing as a pilot, I'm already looking kind of forward to another run through playing with someone else, so that you really have to go through some more things here on the Galactica. And again, if no other raiders would have showed up, I think with our next action we really may have moved on back onto the Galactica to maybe use the weapons control, and sooner or later we might want to consider going for the FTL control, which then allows you to jump the fleet if the jump preparation check is not in the red zone, and we might lose population. Again, if we are at -1, we might want to consider doing this, and also depends a little bit what other ships are appearing here at the front of the Galactica. Okay, and that was pretty much the first episode of my solo playthrough of Battlestar Galactica, the board game. I really hope you enjoyed it somewhat. Again, let me know if I goofed something up and I will try to correct that as much as possible. Also, let me know what you think I should do. Should I... Of course, right now I think she has to stay in that Viper and going after those raiders, but after that we might want to consider doing something else. Let me know, and also again, if I made any terrible mistakes, especially with these quorum cards here. I'm assigning these to another player. Sounds strange in a solo game, but I think I handled that correctly. And yeah, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and until then, bye bye!